Okay. I'm in quite a rush. I was in quite a rush to prepare this, but here we are in Canada. For the Pirelli Canadian Grand Prix, I didn't even have time to check the sponsors, because I said I'd start at quarter past. It's now quarter past, and I started. Um, Hi Edward. Freaking. Hi Eric. Sorry. Anyways, at least today I can see chat now. So we are ready for the Pirelli Canadian Grand Prix, but unfortunately I have not done the proper simulated quali. So yeah, we're gonna try and just get things swimmingly. All right, intro time.
Fangio steering at his weapon now.
All right, so here we are in the big poster. Um, Yeah, so we've got to do the thing again. I don't know how long this will take. Hopefully it won't take long. Uh, yeah, but yeah. Let's see. Top four is okay. It's just in the wrong order. Are we? Oh, let me switch chat on. Actually, do we think this is the one? Do we think this is the one, guys? I think. I mean, okay, the bottom obviously, but do you think this is the one, guys? Um. Dirksen is fifth and he's seventh. Lutta's we're gonna take a gamble. We're not gonna say that it is it. Can I see chat? I don't know if I can see chat right now, but yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes this takes a long time to do. So it might be here for quite a while. Ocon Joe Carrero, nope. Because someone in an AlphaTauri decided to qualify P2. Um, no. Can't have VP1, mate. Someone in an AlphaTauri decided to qualify P2 again. Perfecto. Perfecto. Joe, this is things Ocon. Perfecto. Okay, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one. Okay, perfecto. It is going to be a wet race in Canada, actually. Intermediate, starting with the inters. So I'll start with the inters then. So let's see who will be number one at the end of quite a number of laps. Let's go on P2's focus. And the Canadian Grand Prix is underway. This gets a good start on Joe. He might be challenging him for P1, but watch out, there's a Mercedes behind. Never mind, there are two Mercedes behind, as Ocon and Carrero are fighting for P3 and P4. And Little Things goes into the lead of the race on lap 1, dislodging Joe from P1. What a move on the man. While Juan Carrero manages to displace Ocon. And Juan Carrero tries to make a move round the outside. But Joe tries to stay put as Tanner Bardol is also in the mix. For it is an amazing battle for P2 right now, while Eric has already managed to eke out in a nice gap. And Juan is overtaken by Ocon going into the straight. Will he be overtaken by Tanner Bardol? Yes, he is. As we even go into just as we about to go into the chicane, but he manages to retake P2, but not for long. Track tap from Jupiter gets a track limits warning. Wow, what a start to this race it has been. So now in this race, there's no... Oh, Jerkson's gonna go for the move from a long way back, but he just can't seem to take it. Now, behind Eric, Let me just get the cam here. Behind Eric, there is a Red Bull. You see, and this Red Bull is quite fast. Um, and this track is a track which has quite a bit of straight. So yeah, this might be something. Might be something. Joe might look for a move somewhere, somehow. As we see here, the Mercedes is, yes, they're third and fourth, but it's nothing compared to what's going on up in front. They're already 5 seconds, okay, 4 seconds as they go into the braking zone, and the others go onto the straight. But will Juan Carrero make a move on his teammate? And Joe goes into the lead of the race. Joe's into the lead of the race, onto the main straight. But Eric comes back just before we go into the chicane, has the racing line, and now leads going into lap 3, and also sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Going into the chicane comes the two Mercedes. They cannot seem to answer any further questions. The Mercedes powertrains of the Mercedes, and he is about to be overtaken by the Renault. It seems as though Mercedes are struggling. Their struggles will continue on, but he manages to salvage that. So now Eric has managed to eke out another advantage, while Joshua Dirksen manages to take a P5 away from Tanner, who started in P7, by the way. So we'll see how this progresses. But he's under threat from the AlphaTauri, not from the Alfa Romeo, sorry. And Tap easily goes through into P6, meaning that Dirksen is now on for McLaren's highest finish this season so far. Tanner comes back for a move, and there's been a yellow flag. Lata goes into the gravel. The Ferrari is now 5 seconds for Viking LM for collision with Lata. Lata has had his race absolutely destroyed right now by being crashed into by Viking LM as he spun out. This short yellow flag has allowed Ocon to try and make some moves to try and catch up here. Will he do it? Well, does he have enough pace? He can see Joe in front, but there's his teammate as well. 2 seconds behind him. Still 2 seconds behind him. 3 seconds behind now. Can Ocon extract just a little bit of pace? He's saving his battery up now. Will he use it down the straight? So as of right now, it seems that Eric might get his first win for AlphaTauri in race weekend 2, which is definitely something of a dreamer right now. Mercedes, this whole race weekend, we saw it in Qatar that they have no pace, but Joe seems to be coming back. Joe seems to be gaining the advantage. It seems that on the straight, they're both deploying their battery, but it seems as though the one with the most battery on the straight will be able to make the move. You can see there's Ocon in the background. So will Joe go for a move? Joe goes fastest in Sector 3. There's the Mercedes. Ocon sets the fastest lap, clearly wanting a piece of this. Joe is only 3/10 behind on Ocon. He's still deploying. They're still deploying. Okay, no, never mind. They're saving, sorry. But Joe seems to be catching slowly but surely. He's managed to break it down. Now, can Ocon do something here? He's currently behind on his personal best, but if he keeps banging in those laps, it seems as though he might be on for quite a good thing, as Lata seems to be tumbling down the order right now. Joe says fastest Sector 20 goes for the lead of the race ahead of Eric, but Eric will have more battery going onto the straight and will retake the lead on lap 5 of 35. What a move Joe had just done. But can Joe come back? It seems as though he keeps coming back, but will he fall into the hands of Ocon? Ocon seems to be gaining now. Ocon seems to be going for P2. He's only 2 seconds behind and will have to go for another lap to save his battery. But right now, it seems as though Eric is driving a lap of his life. He's driving the race of his life. He might get the race win for AlphaTauri today. Who knows? Maybe even Ocon will stand a chance. He still has the fastest lap right now. But Joe, all that progress, all that battery spent trying to make a move into one of the final turns, it just didn't come to fruition. But as we know, that Red Bull is fast on that straight. That Red Bull is quite handily fast on that straight. So will he be able to do something? As we go into the chicane, Joe is still 1.7 seconds behind. Did you look at that? So now, um, you can see down the chicane, Joe's catching. Joe seems to be catching. As Tipcom is now. Oh, he didn't qualify. Sorry, I thought it was in the points, but he wasn't in the points. Joe's gaining. Joe's gaining coming out of that corner. You can see they are fighting just side by side. They're not side by side. Sorry, they're just separated by nearly nothing. 1 second isn't really. 1 second is a lot in Formula One, but right now, 1 second is a variable. It is not a constant, it is a variable. And right now, will 1 second be the difference between a first race win for Joe, who is a veteran? He's been here since season one, or will it be a first race win for the rookie? For Little Things, who has put on mightily a show for us. He managed to get P2 in the race in Saudi, but only time will tell, as Juan Carrero seems to be making advances on his teammate just up the road there. You can see Ocon's been replenishing his battery right now. He's still down in his time. Um, Eric sets the fastest sector 3. Lata's managed to salvage what he could of the race, and he's now back into P11, which means he'll have to fight with the Mercedes of Rafa. So yeah, it seems as though Joe simply just cannot catch him, but reminder that this is a wet race. This is an inters race. So when the pit stop phase comes, then 5 seconds for Anthony for a collision with Eric HTX. So yeah, we saw in Qatar that strategy can be the deciding factor in if you win a race or not. You can see Eric is on his way to start lapping people right now. And that's when backmarkers become a problem too. 5 seconds for Edward into sector 3 for a collision with Anthony. Now that will allow Joe to massively catch up to, let's see here. Is he deploying? He's not deploying his battery, he's saving his battery right now, but now he is deploying. Now he will try to go for the move. Will he succeed? Juan Carrero sets the fastest sector 3. He has his teammate in his sights. Here, as we go on to, as we keep going on, we can see those are the first back markers just right up the road ahead. Back to Carrero. They're having a mighty fight. They're not fighting yet, but he seems to be reaching. Joe's just managed to put in the. He's still down on his time, yes, but he's now deployed in where he shouldn't be deploying, because we all know that the power comes into the straights. Eric is actually up on his time. He sets the fastest sector 2. Yeah, you can see that's the first back marker officially lapped. I believe that's Anthony. So now that Joe's starting to fall back on his time, let's look at Juan Carrero over here now. Yeah, no, it seems as though that Eric, but what would be good for Joe and for Ocon and for Carrero and for Druxton is that when the rain clears, it seems that the rain has cleared now, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, those is for the rain, is for the track to become dry as it is right now. You can see just up ahead that the clouds are starting to dissipate. Is for just an absolute miracle to happen in the pits. You can see there, Joel and Albon come into the pits now. And Tap, they fitted hard tires. So this will obviously be, as every race is in Monoposto right now, it's a two-stopper. So we will see, depending on what strategies are going to happen. You can just see there's Anthony being passed right now. Depending on what's going to happen in the pit lane, we might see, just a little bit of understeer there. We might see Mercedes potentially do something. There's Juan Carrero on his teammate. Will he make a move? This is for priority in the pit lane. So now we can see here, he comes into the pits as expected. But which of the Mercedes will get the priority in the double stacking? And will this double stack potentially hamper Red Bull Racing? You can see there's a bit of traffic. He will go unobstructed into the lead of the race. Juan Carrero is held up again because of that little rookie move. So here we have Eric is into the lead of the race on medium tires, while the rest of the top four are all on hard tires. So what this means is that um, Joe and Ocon will pit second, right? They will pit after um, Eric does, right? And so Eric now has to decide for his last stint, will he go for a shorter stint on the medium tires, for another stint on the medium tires at the end, at say lap 30 or so, or will he try to extend to cover off of the Red Bull and the Mercedes and the two Mercedes to try and salvage a race win, because he's definitely on for a race win, if not that a podium. However, it will all depend on the strategy, because strategy is everything. So you can see, and he's hit the wall, and he's hit the wall. Is he out of the race? Is he out of the Grand Prix? No, he's not retired, but he has hit the wall. He does have some damage right now. His race has just gone from 100 to nearly nothing in a few corners on to the championship straight, onto the what is it called? Onto the champion straight. That has now allowed Joe to catch up. That has now allowed Ocon to catch up. That has now allowed for the Red Bull and for the Mercedes to catch up. As you can see, he will have to pit at the end of this lap to repair his car. Otherwise, he might be subjected to quite a bit of trouble right now. Tenabadol sets the fastest lap. Has Lutta managed to? Yes, he has. He sets the fastest lap as he's managed to drive an incredible race. That could have been costly. Luckily, if you can just look at his car percent, he's only managed to. Yep, here comes Joe, and here comes Ocon. So it seems as though onto the champ. If he does not pit, then they will pass him somewhere else in the track, right? But he's just managed to. With that one mistake, does he pit? He does not pit. So yeah, onto the championship straight we go. Past the William back marker. And I assume Ocon does make light work of that as well. Now comes the question, when will Joe pass him? Because not if Joe will pass him, it is when he will pass him. That is the question. So yes, maybe the damage he sustained was not really race ending, but you can see here, Joe tries to go for a lunge from way back, actually. It seems to not have worked, but Joe is on his way. He will pass him. And has DRS opened yet? I doubt. And you can see there, he has little battery to defend him on if he does go for the move on the if Joe does go for a move onto the straight. Here comes Joe, only 3/10 behind, and DRS might be enabled soon, I believe. Joe has more battery. You can see yeah, he's not deploying. There he comes onto the straight. Joe into the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Can Ocon make work of that? Will Ocon make work of that as we go on to lap 14 of 35? Ocon seems to have dropped behind. Behind him is a back marker, I believe. Yes, that is the Williams. I don't know which Williams, but that is a Williams. So Joe into the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. So he's on for his first race win. Right now. He's already made 2 seconds, so will Ocon do anything right now? We know that this whole race weekend, the pace of the Mercedes has been minimal, but round the outside, they go, touching cars, yes, their wheels bang, and there goes Ocon into second. You can just see there the damage on his front wing. Absolute shambles, man. So can Dirksen now also come into play, because he overtook Juan Carrero, who's just passed us in the camera now. So can he try to do something and maybe get a podium for himself? 5 seconds for collision with Ocon. He's now damaged his car even further and ruined his chances of a potential race win because he hit Ocon. So he's been given a 5-second penalty for a collision on that same championship straight, not even 3 laps after his collision with the wall. So what is his car? Well, so his car is now damaged. Okay, it's only 1% into the more damage, but that now has allowed Dirksen to now come into play. That has now allowed Carrero to come into play. That is now possibly make him drop behind his teammate, Parland Albano here. What is going on? He's led handily this race. And now seems to all becoming, it seems to now just be unfolding right in front of him. Whoa, here comes Dirksen. You can just see him there in that McLaren. There's also the other Mercedes of Juan Carrero looking to see something out of this. But Joe now starts lap 16, 5 seconds ahead of the pack. He now comes Eric into the pits. But him coming into the pits means that if he doesn't go for the hard tire, then then his race will have effectively been over. So there you see, no one touches the car for 5 seconds. He goes for a wing change. He now pits for the hard tires. So will that drop him behind Rafa? That will not drop him behind Rafa. So he's safe in the points, yes. And Juan Carrero and Joshua Dirksen fighting wheel to wheel for P4. You can see just back markers over there. Albano shoots into P3. Albano now is in contention. This is now a three-way battle, possibly even with an Alfa Romeo behind there. So into Joshua has the inside line, but he won't come ahead. So Pyland Albano has managed on the soft tire. Yes, he's on the soft tire, but he's now managed to take something of himself. But he gets passed by Juan Carrero into the champion straight. He now comes into the pits for to change his tires, obviously because the soft tire does not usually last that long. So from that has now allowed Dirksen so that has slowed Dirksen down, and that has given Carrero the advantage to maybe even get a podium back. What a race we are having here. Tanner Bardot is now the car that Eric now has to beat. Yes, he's on the fresher tires, and yes, his car is, but this is not where he wants to be fighting with the Reynolds here. That is not where he wants to be fighting right now. He wants to be fighting for the race win, for a podium even. So his race has just turned all the way upside down. It's Eric over, guys. It really is Eric over. But are we seeing an advance from the Mercedes? Are we seeing a possible fight with the Mercedes for the lead of the race? Because now Joe these two are on possibly the exact same strategy, so it's now up to them. And there's been a 5-second penalty for Joe for a collision with a back marker for Edward. Whoa. Just whoa. And there's a 5-second penalty for Bardot for a collision with Edward. What is Edward doing right now? At the back of the field, he's a back marker. So this has just ruined a lot of people's races by this. But you know whose race it hasn't ruined? It hasn't ruined Ocon's race. It hasn't ruined Ocon's race. Ocon is going to go for the dive bomb move and into the lead of the race, but he spun round. He has just barely managed to get through. 5-second penalty for Albon for a collision with Tanner Bardot. So that has allowed Eric to now shoot back up into 16th place. So there's a yellow flag in Sector 2. Will that lead to a safety car? Will someone retire? Our most recent retiree is Joe. So Joe has to deal with I think a back marker. Yeah, there you go. 5-second penalty for Lata for collision with Edward. What is Edward doing? What is this guy doing, man? He's just on the track. He just doesn't think of anyone but himself. He's like the Stroll. He's like the Stroll of F1-70 right now. Wow, okay, so that has just thrown the race completely upside down. But Joe has managed to salvage. I mean, now you have possibly a Mercedes fighting with the McLaren. He's gonna appear soon. There he is. But now Joe is the one on the remontada. So this will now have Ocon extend his championship lead. I haven't calculated the championship standings now, but I believe he is going to extend his championship lead quite handily at that. You can see there's Joe, and there's just a back mark. I believe that was Tepcom. No, that's our Knowles, who's right behind him. Okay. I think now the race is starting to settle down with 15 laps to go. We've already extended past the halfway mark of this race. Yeah, Chap from Jupiter on the medium tire has now come into the pits. He's one of the lucky few to not be affected by the whole Edward thing. So he comes to pit for another set of mediums. Okay, how interesting then. So yeah, it's really a battle for the top two, and then 3 and 4 fight again. But Dirksen does not look to be challenging the other car. Yeah, so you see, is Joe pushing? Not really, he isn't. You can see his teammate there, he hasn't scored a point after winning the first race of the season. Okay, he has scored some points after winning the first race of the season, but he hasn't made much of a meaningful impact. Last time I calculated the championship standings, he was second. So yeah, Joe is now. Well, can he possibly try to impact? But oh, sorry, sorry for that. But yeah, Joe's now. It, it's hard to say whether he will make a meaningful impact because the top four are all on the same strategy. But you can see there's the back marker. There's the other McLaren of VQNLM, whose birthday was quite recent. So Joe will have to overtake him and the Haas of Levi Graham. You can see he makes work. Does he make work of him? He does not make work of him. He'll have to go for a move. You can see he slows down his car. Boom. Past Graham as well, I believe. Yep. So someone's in the pit. Eric's gone into the pits as well. So now here comes the daunting task for Joe to try and catch up to Ocon. Does Ocon come into the pit actually? He does not. And neither will Joe, who's managed to close the gap down. Therein appears another back mark, and there's a 5-second penalty for Joe, but that will not affect his race, and he's into the wall. Joe has crashed into the wall for a collision with the Renault, for a collision with another car. You can see his front wing has been absolutely destroyed, and that has allowed Ocon to go into the lead of the race. Our pole sitter is now at a disadvantage. He can now lose his P3 because of who? Because of a back marker called Edward. We all thought it was going to be close. We all thought that maybe Joe had something up his sleeve and he tried to get the advantage. But no, it seems as though his race, again, another race win, ruined because of a back marker. Another potential race win just absolutely battered by a back marker. But will this... and there's been, it seems, you can see, just gravel everywhere on the track. Because of what? Because of back markers. You can see there's the car of Eric HTX absolutely battered right now as he goes on to the main straight. Dirksen has now passed Juan Carrero, and Joe has now come into the pits, yes. He's now fall tumbling down the order. So what will he pit for? Mediums, I assume. No, yes, he does go for mediums. But will those mediums last until the end of the race is the question now begged. Oh, he's not going to be happy about this, is he? All season long, he's tried to go for that one race win, that one thing that is coming. That there's been a yellow flag in Sector 3 as well. Joe comes into the pits. Tanner, I assume, will also come into the pits. Yes, he does. Joe has been so desperately searching this entire season for that one race win. He now stands at 3 poles this season. At the time after the Canadian Grand Prix, he now stands at 2 poles this season. He's now gotten 2 podiums in his entire career, but none have been managed to just clinch that one race win. I am reminded of Nico Hulkenberg, who had to wait a staggeringly long time to get his first podium. I am reminded of Lando Norris, who has stood on the podium many, many times, but has never managed to clinch the top step. It took him 7 years to do that. But can Joe make the recovery drive of his career and get back into contention. Absolute scenes here in Canada. I am reminded of George Russell this year, who was at who was just about to clinch victory in the Canadian Grand Prix, but on lap 30, a collision with his teammate now forced his hand. There's been another yellow flag in sector 3. I swear, man, someone needs to stop Edward. We need to just fire the guy. But yeah, will Joe go for a move into the chicane? He's too far back. He can't. This is for P5. As Eric is now battling with the Mercedes of Juan Carrero. And Carrero has the advantage, pulls a pass, but he will come into the pit lane. So does Joshua Dirksen, meaning that Eric will now go back into P2, where he originally started. But after what happened this entire race, we've had two people who are vying for the race win had their race absolutely battered. So Dirksen goes for the hard tire while Dirksen goes for the medium tire while Carrero goes for the soft tire. How interesting. How very, very interesting. So yeah, I know it seems as though Joe has managed to clinch his way back into P4, but that's not for long. I can tell you that. So Cantap actually, I think this is for net P5 ish, because Dirksen and Carrero are obviously going to come back. You can see that Dirksen sets a faster sector 2, so they're obviously going to come back. So yeah, so this is just a battle. And Tap actually goes through. Tap manages to pull past, and Ocon goes into the pits. He's just come out in P3 at the mercy now of Joe, but he is net P1. Unless Joe can try to do something. A keyword is try, but I doubt it will be anything of substance. So here we are on board with P1-ish and P2-ish. We'll see. We will see if Joe can manage to throw a wrench in the Mercedes plans and possibly have the recovery drive of his life after a very big collision with I think it was the Williams. After a very big collision with the Williams of HTX and with the McLaren of Dow. You can see he slows down coming in onto the main straight. Let's just go on board with him now. Dirksen sets the fastest sector 2. I believe he's just about to overtake. Well, he's quite far from overtaking, but yeah. So the Mercedes is now completely reversed its grip. Ocon now pulls past ahead. Faster sector 3 ahead of Little Things. So now it's a battle between Joe and Little Things, but since Joe's on essentially since Eric's now essentially on quite the hard tire, it'll be difficult. You can see here there's just a sea of back markers here. So Ocon goes into the lead of the race. Ocon take the lead of the race back from Tap from Jupiter. It did not take long at all for his race to be back in order. So now it'll be a battle for P2 now. Unless Joe can... Yeah, Joe pulls past right cleanly ahead of Eric with a K. So now we go on board. And it seems as though Tap just slowed just a little bit, but it seems he has the pace. He has the pace to go for a move, but he just can't seem to find the grip. But he will go for the inside line back into the lead of the race. But you can see there, yellow flag sector 3. I wonder who spun. I think it will be cleared in time. But Tap goes back for the lead of the race from Ocon, from Joe. But it won't last for long because he's on the older tire. He will have to pit, definitely. Ocon, I doubt he will pit. Joe will definitely have to pit, though. You can see there, just behind, Ocon will have the DRS. There are no back markers right in front of them. So you will see here, Ocon goes for the race lead. Can Joe squeeze past? He does, onto a DRS zone, into a chicane. Now, order has been restored, but not for Joe. Joe still has quite quite a lot of business to attend to right now. So can he catch Ocon? And with the older tire, might I add? But I don't think so. I think he will have to fight with Tap. As you can just see here, Albano, what was he doing there? I don't know what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to overtake some back markers. Yes, yes, he was. So here comes Tap into the pits, like I said, with around 5 laps to go. So does Little Things come into the pits. He will now pit for softs. Mediums again. Tap goes for another set of mediums. Oh. Now, will that possibly hamper his race? Dirksen moves up into P3. He's on for a podium. 5-second collision for Juan Carrero with for colliding with Tap from Jupiter. What was... I think I just barely saw that. What was that? Are people out here just trying to ruin the races or something? Albon has a 5-second penalty, so now the task for Dirksen to be on the podium again is for him is dependent on this man, Paul from Paul and Albano, right? Because if Paul and Albano can hold up Tap, then he will effectively be net P3. Now, Joe does not pit. If Joe wanted to pit, I think if Joe really wanted to go, he might have to have pitted for the soft tire right now, because that is the most viable action for him to try and take the race win away from Ocon. But if Ocon pits the same lap as well to go for the soft tire, then maybe... Oh, Tap goes into the pits again. Oh, because of his broken front wing, Tap goes into the pits again, thereby making Eric now into net P4. So does Juan Carrero go into the pits. Just watch him. Boom. Will he be passed by Gaetano? Yes, he will. So yeah, Joe's now 5 seconds. Here you have your lone race leader. So it all depends on him. It really all depends on him. On to the Straight of Champions. He just passes the point where Lando Norris did a move tried to attempt to move on Oscar Piastri that one time. So Joe is now making his advances. He's now catching. Yeah, you have your lone race leader over here. So now, where's the Mercedes? The Mercedes is quite a bit back. Tap is now in P9. I think he was P6 when he qualified. That has just allowed Joe in the Ferrari to absolutely shoot up into P5, and Tanner Bardol into P6, having started P7. Now it's all at the mercy of Albano. Oh, Tanner goes into the pits, lap 31. Quite a smart idea. I think now the pit window should close. If you wanted to win the race, you should be pitting now, because I can tell you for a fact that we've seen in Qatar here that pitting with 3 laps to go is never a good idea. Never, ever a good idea. So is Ocon into the pits? No. Is Joe into the pits? No. Dirksen, will he come into the pits? Dirksen does not come in. So I believe this will be our top. This will be our top 3: Ocon, Joe, Dirksen. Yeah. Rafa's driving absolute amazing race. You can see they're just shooting past. Even as a back marker has managed to overtake some back markers as well. Yeah, so it's up to Juan Carrero and Tanner, I think. But Tanner, I think, will make light work of this. I think, because he's pitted just now. Joe now comes into the pits. And I remember what I said about pitting anywhere from lap 32 is a bad idea. That's what I think about this. This might possibly be a bad idea. We'll see here, yellow flag, sector 3. I think someone spun. I don't know who has spun. Oh, it's Anthony. But that means Eric has now had a 5-second penalty for hitting the back marker. Absolutely. This is the kind of stuff that you never ever see regularly. So yeah, Rafa. But I think Rafa's going to pit now. I'm not sure of that, but I think Rafa's going to pit now. He just has to. He just has to. I'll disqualify him if he does. I'm joking. Oh, there are two people watching now. Hello to you two. Can I see chat? Is my chat open? I don't know. Chat doesn't seem open, to be honest. But and he freaking hits! He hits! I miss it! He hits the Renault into the wall! Straight into the wall goes Hannah Bardot! He does not get a penalty for that! He does not get a penalty for that! The Renault has been absolutely punted into the wall. I will do something about that. I as the FIA, right? Because I am the FIA, I will give him a 20-second penalty for that because he just hit him, man. You can't just hit someone like that. Shunt them into the wall just like that. Oh my days. If this was regular F1, his car would have been absolutely destroyed. What was that? From Cayetano. That is some dirty, 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 dirty driving. I know the game doesn't register that as a collision, but I will give Rafa a 5-second penalty just for that. What was that, man? Not a 20-second. He deserves a 20-second penalty for causing a collision. Absolute shambles, this is. Absolute shambles. Let's see where he crosses the line. Because I mean, obviously there's going to be the Mercedes there. It's simply unacceptable. Simply unacceptable from a driver like that to have caused just a magnitude of a collision just like that. No, actually unacceptable. Genuinely just unacceptable racing right there. But now we turn our attention here to the man of the race. There's been a 5-second penalty for Eric for a collision with Tip Cum. We turn our attention here to the man who's driven an absolute race of a lifetime. The man who managed through all things. He knew coming out of Qatar, disappointed with having his race win taken from him, disappointed with the strategy that Mercedes had put on him. He's now going to round one of the final corners onto the main straight. He will now come to see that yes, strategy changes things. He will now, with the better strategy, have achieved his third race win of the season. He will now look up and see the checkered flag first. He will now win the Canadian Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon wins the Canadian Grand Prix for Mercedes. Now in P2 comes Joe. Another race to look at, another race to take. But enough about that. In the McLaren, someone will come onto the third step of the podium. It will be Joshua Dirksen. It will be Dirksen on the podium again after shambles going on just now there. But Joshua Dirksen will now stand on the top step of on the third step of the podium. A satisfied man through all things. What a race Mercedes have gone. Mercedes now again triumph from ruin with the other car. Yes, the other car is in. Rafa Caetano rounds the final corner. 58. Yeah. And here you have your race results. A more normal looking podium as opposed to what we saw in Qatar. But Joe will be very angry about that. He will have a lot to reflect on going into France, where he might win now. Joshua Dirksen, a very happy man in P3. On to our race results. Ocon Joe Dirksen, Eric Albano Jupiter, Lutta, Bardot Joel Carrero, Caetano Vicuña. Yeah, maybe I'll DSQ. I'll probably DSQ him. VQNLM, Dal, Graham, Senna, our Knowles, Edward, Tipcam. Then our last two, Anthony, Eric, HTX. Stick around for the podium ceremony.
What a crucial win that could be for him as he goes for that record-breaking 8th world title.
Okay, now our closing remarks. Um, thoughts, closing remarks. It's a very. I think today's race problem was with the. Oh shit. Today's race problems was with back markers, especially. They just did not know how to drive, and I think that might be partially my fault because I set all the back markers, their car power to one instead of it being more spread out. We've never seen problems with back markers like this, so I think that might have been my bad. I'll revise that for the race tomorrow in France. But um, congrats on Ocon. For congrats to me for winning the race. Yeah, you can just see how quickly races can unfold, how unpredictable the monoposto AI can be. I mean, you had Eric was leading the race for quite some time. Joe looked like he was going to take the win, but then Mercedes pulled through. I mean, Mercedes is particularly strong around Canada, so I wouldn't blame them for that. But what a race, man! We'll be back tomorrow, so some questions to think about. Will Joe finally take it one step further, to take the top step in France, or will he, like others, fumble? And yeah, win number 15 for Ocon. He's now 2 wins away from equaling the record race wins held by Primi, with 17. I think Ocon now extends his championship advantage. So yeah, it's been a that was actually quite an entertaining race to watch. Thank you and arrivederci.